Welcome to Mission Majjhima, Ajahn.
Ajahn.
So tell us about the Rathavinīta Sutta, Majjhima 24.
So the discourse on the relay chariots begins with some monks who have just spent the rains retreat in the Buddha's homeland, at least is how Bhikkhu Bodhi kind of contextualizes it. So near Kapilavatthu, and have come to pay respects to the Buddha afterwards in Magadha. And the Buddha asks, is there anyone in basically my homeland, that a monk that you revere and look up to, that you esteem? And they reference Venerable Puṇṇa. And Venerable Sāriputta, who's listening in, the thought arises, it is a great gain for Venerable Puṇṇa to be so praised by his companions in the spiritual life. I hope that I will get to meet him. And then they go to Savatthi, where Venerable Sāriputta has the chance to, without his identity being revealed, approach Venerable Puṇṇa in the forest and ask him these set of questions, specifically about the purpose of the training under the Blessed One, under the Buddha. The Venerable Sāriputta asks, is this holy life lived for the sake of purification of ethics, sila, visuddhi? And Venerable Puṇṇa says, no, it's not lived for the sake of purification of sila. Is it lived for purification of mind, chitta, visuddhi? And Venerable Puṇṇa says, no. Purification of view? No. Purification of through overcoming doubt? No. Purification of knowledge of what is path and not path? No. Purification of practice? No. Purification of knowledge and vision, and it's knowledge and vision of each of the prior two as well. Jnana dasana, visuddhi, no. And then Venerable Sāriputta says, then what is the purpose of this path? And Venerable Puṇṇa says it is for the remainderless nibbana without clinging. So anupada nibbanang. And Venerable Sāriputta then says, okay, are each of these factors separate from that final goal, or are they completely, are they separate from it? And Venerable Puṇṇa says, no, they're not. And Venerable Sāriputta is confused and asks for clarity, and to which Venerable Puṇṇa responds with a beautiful simile of relay chariots, saying, imagine King Pasenadi wanted to go from Savatthi, his capital, to another location, and he would have a chariot waiting in one location, ride it for a certain distance, and then switch to another. And another, until he finally reached his destination. Even so, each of these factors, from purification of virtue on through purification of knowledge and vision, is each a step and live for the purpose of the next. But they only find consummation in complete nibbana without clinging. And then there's just this beautiful vignette where Venerable Puṇṇa finally asks Venerable Sāriputta's name and learns who he is, and they just delight in one another's presence. And it's kind of just one of those little moments in the suttas which grounds it in a pretty deeply touching image. And just to note here that there's different thoughts of how you kind of overlay those various steps, but we'll get into that in a second. But just to say that this discourse is the foundation and framework, even though it shows up in this set of 7 only here in the suttas. It occurs elsewhere with slight variations, but serves as the framework for the Visuddhimagga, which is perhaps one of the most influential texts in all of Theravada, written in about 4th or 5th century Sri Lanka by Buddhaghosa. Ajahn, what would you draw out of this discourse?
So one of the most interesting parts of the sutta for me is the list of qualities that it said that Puṇṇa Mantāniputta really epitomizes. And the Buddha asks the monks who he first engages with, which monk is one from the native land who has these qualities. And he gives this list of 10 qualities that the monk would possess, and that they teach these to others. And so Puṇṇa Mantāniputta, it turns out, is one who has few wishes and who teaches and advocates being of few wishes. Puṇṇa Mantāniputta has contentment and praises contentment. He's secluded and he praises seclusion. He is unentangled, which is asangsata, and he praises being unentangled. He puts forth energy and praises putting forth energy. He's consummate in virtue, consummate in praises that, consummate in concentration, praises that, consummate in wisdom, praises that, consummate in vimutti, or liberation, and consummate in knowledge and vision of liberation, and praises that. So elsewhere, these 10 superlatives, these 10 good qualities, are called the 10 subjects for conversation. Actually, rather than talking about Sutta and Anguttara, so rather than, or it could be the Samyutta, but rather than talking about kings or king's ministers or battles or sports or cars or all these other things, the Buddha gives a list of 30 or so things which people that are on the path shouldn't engage discussion about. Rather, they should talk about these 10 things, that is, being in few wishes, being secluded, being content, being unentangled, putting forth energy, having virtue, concentration, wisdom, liberation or release, and knowledge and vision of release, and that Puṇṇa Mantāniputta teaches these to others. So I love the list, and I love just at the end of the sutta, the interaction between Sāriputta and Puṇṇa Mantāniputta. Neither of them recognize the other. You know, Sāriputta is the foremost disciple in wisdom, having vast wisdom, but he comes, and he's not the Thai word is puyai. He doesn't come about as being this big person that everybody needs to listen to. He doesn't say his name. Putta doesn't even recognize him. So we get the impression that Sāriputta is being very humble. And at the end, they ask each other's name and really praise each other's vast wisdom. And a really beautiful phrase that it would be of benefit for those who could see it, even just seeing the other, even just seeing Sāriputta as if he were carried around on a pillow on someone's head, even just seeing Sāriputta or seeing Puṇṇa Mantāniputta would be of benefit. And this does kind of, there's this concept in Hinduism of darshan, just of seeing the sage as a benefit. And Buddhism doesn't exactly have the same way that a teaching can be given just solely by seeing someone. You need to reflect and look at the virtues of that person. But that there can be benefit. And later on we'll find suttas here in the Majjhima where why is it of benefit to see someone? Because then you might listen to that person, and when you listen to that person, you might think about what they say, etc., all into actually putting into practice what they say. So just a beautiful sutta and a great interaction between these great Sangha elders. Do you have anything else you'd like to pull out from the sutta? Yeah,
I think to just flesh out a little more the steps of purification. First, just the framing of, what are we aiming for? And it is this cessation without clinging. So each of these steps of purification of, virtue needs to be aimed towards that goal and the subsequent ones of purification of view. And say we're clinging tightly with a sort of violence to certain ideas we have or virtue, we're misaligning that step with, we're riding the right horse, but in the completely wrong direction. So it's a good framing, linking all of these. And also it serves to encompass the threefold training of sila, samadhi, panya, virtue, concentration, and wisdom, where the first two steps, purification of virtue and purification of mind, giving up the hindrances and attaining the jhanas, or at least some of deep levels of concentration, align with the first two. And the third training of purification of view, in this case, which aligns with panya, the third of the threefold training, is expanded here to encompass all these factors of overcoming doubt, of knowledge of what is the path and what isn't, and then of practicing that path, and then just a purification of vision as a whole, knowledge and vision. And that the commentaries, or at least different commentators have said, it's basically the factors all amounting to stream entry, this overcoming of doubt, etc. But that stream entry is not the end goal, and that's where that final step into complete liberation is pointed to.
Yeah, just one point there about that this is virtue is practiced for the sake of training the mind. There's a sutta, Majjhima number 39, Maha-Asapura Sutta, where, similarly, someone is accomplished in virtue, and they might think, just this much is okay, just this much is enough. I've achieved what is meant to be achieved. And the Buddha says, do not think this. If you want to achieve the true goal of recluseship, of being a samana, of going forth, of a holy life, then keep practicing. Don't think, this is okay, this much is enough. So a wise non-contentment in a certain way. So Ajahn, what is the word of the week?
The word of the week is visuddhi, and that means purity, and it comes from the root sud, which means purity.